welcome back to Geek-Stew. I'm, of course, Ike Isaacs, and today I'm actually bringing you a little bit of a different video. So today we're actually taking a small break from the Control Over C podcast. It's also had some other things to do this week, so we decided that instead of trying to rush out a podcast or having to do it later or whatever the case may be, that instead, I would just make a quick video for us today to kind of talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. But I wanted to start making a brief series. This may be expanded to other subjects and other things like this, but just sort of a rant. And this won't be anything crazy, but of course, this is Geek-Stew, so we're about all things geek. We talk about a lot of things like movies. We talk a lot about video games. Dave talks a lot about various, figure collection series and things of that nature. So something that I'm also very passionate about outside of horror movies is I am a big fan of anime. You probably know this because a lot of the shirts that I wear in my videos are anime shirts. Dragon Ball Z, I think I've worn a Cowboy Bebop, maybe a My Hero Academia. I'm a big fan of anime. I've always been a fan of anime for as long as I can remember. Dragon Ball Z is probably I would say it's my favorite anime. Primarily just because that was one of the first things that I ever watched anime-wise. And it's always continued to be a fantastic thing that I've loved and enjoyed. So, that being said, today I'm going to be talking about anime. Specifically today, I'm going to be talking about why I hate anime fillers. So, for clarification, if you've never watched anime, or if maybe you've gotten lucky and you've not had the disappointment and the opportunity to watch anime with filler. Basically, filler is what anime studios and what people who make anime, the production companies and things of that nature, it's what they put in to fill time. Basically, and it's not always this, but basically, filler is there to fill time, to fill, spaces where they don't have something to put out, or to fill if they don't have enough content. I know Bleach specifically, the animation was pretty ahead, so like they would get to a point where they didn't have enough manga or manga, however you want to pronounce that. They wouldn't have enough source material, so they would make a filler arc. And we're actually going to talk about Bleach today, but basically it's just to fill time. That's the best way to describe it. It fills time when time needs to be filled, and it's not always bad. That's what I want to say. It's not always bad, but 99% of the time it's pretty awful. So we're going to actually go through just a couple things that I've seen personally. I have myself a little list here. But we're going to talk about Bleach first. We're going to talk about Bleach. So in Bleach, a lot of people know that in the manga or the manga, however you want to pronounce it, the primary arcs, and obviously don't kill me on if I don't get the exact right names of the arcs, but you have the first arc, which is about Ichigo getting his powers, and then it's about can't remember her name now, but it's about Ichigo getting his powers, and it's about the Shinigami that gave him his powers getting put on, basically going to be executed. And the whole process is Ichigo trying to basically save her from being executed in the Soul Society, because she's being accused of some various things that wasn't actually her, or whatever the case may be. But essentially, it's about him learning to use his powers, getting into the Soul Society, and that's a whole thing too. Is getting into Soul Society is difficult. And so basically, that's the gist of that first saga, is him getting in and saving her. Beyond that, however, the next saga is about Aizen. Has to do with the whole him being part hollow, and then it has to do with like Hueco Mundo and everything else in Soul Society. but it's mostly about that final battle with Aizen, where Ichigo eventually loses his powers. Obviously, spoiler alert if you didn't already know this. Um, and then there's I'm pretty sure there are two fillers in Bleach specifically. There's the filler before the Aizen arc, and there's a filler after the Aizen arc. Because the filler after the Aizen arc, it's not a huge amount of filler, I don't think, if I remember correctly. But then after that filler, and then it approaches the Fullbring arc, which is the last arc from the manga that they did. Because then after that's the 1,000-Year War arc, and that's only manga. So if you've never read the manga, you don't know about that. But specifically, what I wanted to talk about was the Bount arc. So if you've never watched the Bount arc, I mean, it wasn't horrible here, and that's what I want to preface this with. That I'm not going to tell you that it was the worst thing that I've ever seen in my entire life, because it really wasn't. But the Bount arc just it seemed out of place, and basically it's a perfect example of why how annoying filler arcs can be. The animation studio was behind on, or was so far ahead on the content, and it was leading up to the Aizen arc that they didn't want to get too ahead of themselves. So what they said was, you know what, we're going to go ahead and put in a filler, and it's going to be the Bount arc. So the Bount arc is about spirit vampires who have to feed on spirit power in order to stay alive. Now, here's what I'll say is that a lot of the time these Bount arcs, they introduce characters or individuals who don't really hold a candle to the main characters, but the Bounts actually were fairly threatening. And there are other fillers in the Bleach anime, mind you, but this one was kind of, I feel like one of those ones where you're just like, man, this is really not well placed, because they basically were waiting to get the Aizen arc going, and that was probably, I would say, the best arc in the entirety of the anime. So it was frustrating because you're sitting there like, I don't want to talk about spirit vampires. I want to see the real deal here. So the Bount arc, like I said, was kind of all right, but it just really missed the spot. I feel like they could have introduced the Bount arc at a later time, and it would have been equally as good. But I feel like they did it for time-saving measures or to ensure that they had enough time to do what they needed to do. Irregardless, poorly timed, not a fan. Honestly, if you watch the anime, you'll see what I'm saying. It's just not evenly paced for the overall of the series. So I don't know. That's just where I'm going to stop with that, because when I watched the Bleach anime, I had read the manga. So reading the manga and then going into the anime was like, why? Why am I doing this to myself? So again, not going to go too far into it. I'm actually going to jump into our next filler arc, which I'm going to do a filler arc that I enjoyed. So the first one was a filler arc that I did not enjoy because of where it was placed in the series and why it was placed there. Now, obviously, I didn't watch either of these in real time because these came out. For instance, the next one I'm talking about actually came out when I was a lot younger. And the Bount arc came out actually before I started watching the anime. I started watching the anime when the Aizen arc was being subbed and brought over. So I had already I watched it through because the episodes that I had available after the Bount arc were slim. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and watch it just so that way I can fill my time. And then once that's done, I'll have some more episodes from the main stuff, and then I can go ahead and jump right into that. But the next thing we're going to talk about is Dragon Ball Z. So Dragon Ball Z has a lot of fantastic sagas, a lot of fantastic arcs, a lot of things that I really, 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 really enjoyed. And as you can see behind me, I have a lot of Dragon Ball Z pop figures, and it's really hard to show you, but on that bottom shelf of my shelf back there, it is all Dragon Ball Z. I have every season of the original Dragon Ball Z series. I have Dragon Ball GT. I'm starting to collect Dragon Ball Super. I have most of the original Dragon Ball series. and I have pretty much all of the original movies. Here's what I'll say: Dragon Ball Z, in my opinion, it is your typical shonen anime. All right, it is fighty, action. It has some layers and has some deeper context. But I'm definitely willing to call it what it is, and it's an action anime, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like a lot of people, pardon my French, but they like to shit on action animes because it lacks depth. And I just don't think that's true. I mean, obviously there are going to be animes that lack depth because they're all action, but in my opinion, Dragon Ball Z is not one of them. Dragon Ball Z has a lot of really important messages that it can spread, and I feel like Dragon Ball Z gets a bad rap because a lot of people think it's just action, fighty. But there's a lot more to it than that. But this is actually an arc that I really enjoyed, and now I will say that I'm saying this as an individual who watched this, who didn't watch this when it happened, but it was the Garlic Jr. saga. So a lot of people really hated the Garlic Jr. saga because it was actually created because there weren't enough manga chapters covering the Trunks saga out yet, so they needed to fill time before that happened. So it came out right after the Frieza saga, which really, what their issue was is that the Frieza saga was so great, and we wanted to know what happened with Goku. So it's like a lot of people didn't really care for the Garlic Jr. saga because of its timing, similar to the Bount arc. Now, I will say, however, that the difference between this and the Bount arc is that the Bount arc was just not entertaining to me. I skipped it entirely, but I was able to watch the Garlic Jr. saga. And so there's actually another movie. It's not Garlic Jr., I don't believe. I feel like I believe it's his father, Garlic, who is, it's not Tree of Might. I think it's not World's Strongest. It's one of the first Dragon Ball movies, where Goku's an adult. But basically, I feel like this was somewhat of a follow-up to that. But Garlic Jr., the thing about Garlic Jr. is that he didn't seem like entirely that much of a threat. But in my opinion, the Garlic Jr. saga actually made sense and it filled time appropriately. Now, again, a lot of people hated the Garlic Jr. saga. I'm not going to pretend like everybody didn't hate that at all. But in my opinion, it just, I don't know, it felt right. It was very Dragon Ball-esque. It seemed like they were really reaching back to what Dragon Ball used to be in the original series. It had some goofiness to it, but I think that it suffered, in my opinion, from poor timing. I feel like they could have released the Garlic Jr. arc at a later time, and it probably would have been more enjoyed. But like we said, filler arcs are filler for a reason. Because it needs to fill time. There needs to be something in place to fill time. It needs to be there to make sure that there's enough content for the anime to continue to spit out episodes. So I feel like inherently filler arcs are not good. I feel like filler arcs just in general are horrible. However, there are some that you can enjoy and there are some that you cannot. For me, I couldn't enjoy the Bount arc, but I could enjoy the Garlic Jr. arc because I had watched the movies, and in my opinion, I enjoyed the movies, so I said, you know what, I can enjoy the Garlic Jr. arc because I like the character Garlic, and the concept that they had going for it in the anime was that, he was a somewhat feasible enemy. And you also got to see some of the characters that didn't really shine in Dragon Ball up to that point shine a little bit because Goku wasn't there. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, Goku wasn't there. I mean, Goku's he's the main character, but a lot of times in these animes, the main character, especially shonen animes, the main character is this unbeatable force. Goku never loses. The only time that he's ever actually lost was against a god. And I mean, obviously I could be wrong, and quote me if I am, of course, but the only time that he actually legitimately lost to somebody was to Beerus. And I feel that that's very indicative of the series overall, is that the only person that could stop Goku was literally a fucking god. And I think it was really important, just generally speaking, to be able to take a break and push Goku to the side, because he wasn't dead. I'm sorry, he wasn't dead. He escaped Namek just very nearly. I cannot remember who he goes to, but it's the folks that teach him instant transmission. But he was off Earth, didn't have a way to get back, and this was a perfect time to let other characters shine. And I feel like that's what they did. They allowed other characters to, have a viewing and have a, actually have a position to be able to, take a stance and be able to express their powers and everything else. Goku, Piccolo, and everybody else. And that's also a reason I love the Garlic Jr. arc, is because I'm a huge Piccolo fan. I'm a Piccolo fanboy. And I feel like he's super. I don't know. I feel like through the anime, he's a tertiary character, and I just feel like that's not cool. But what I will say is that the Garlic Jr. arc does come at a bad time. But if you can overlook that, then I think you can enjoy it. But overall, fillers as a whole, in my opinion, still they still represent something that I don't enjoy, which is just overall commercialism. We got to make money, so we got to continue to spit out anime, even if it has nothing to do with the manga, even if we are kind of grasping at straws, And that's something that I don't enjoy about anime, is the fact that this process exists. But of course, there's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do about the fact that in these animes, they gotta make money, I guess. So the best way to make money is just to spit out content, so that way, they continue to, make their money. So, and that is what it is. Like I said, and both of these are animes that came before a really big moment, and they felt really poorly timed. But the content of those fillers, whether or not they're enjoyable, it's obviously up to each one of us. My opinion, couldn't enjoy the Bount arc, but I could enjoy Garlic Jr. I have gone back and actually watched the Garlic Jr. arc, and it was all right. It was good. I could enjoy it. I could sit back and watch it, and I could relax and say, this is pretty chill. I can enjoy this. I can get on board with this. But there are other ones. Just a couple of honorable mentions that I want to throw out there. Of not so great arcs, the Go Island arc and One Piece. One Piece is long enough; it doesn't need fillers. Obviously, One Piece has been going on for God knows how long. The Eclipse Celestial Spirits arc and Fairy Tail. I love Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is one of those ones that I actually paused the manga to watch the anime, because the anime was actually really enjoyable. I find that sometimes you can't enjoy the anime as much as the manga, but I really could. The Capsule Monsters arc and Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can feel very monotonous because it follows what I feel are imaginary rules. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I still have Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and things like that I sometimes mess around with. I don't really play it as strongly anymore. I don't do tournaments or anything like that, but I played Yu-Gi-Oh! I know the rules pretty well, I think. So it's like when I go back and watch the anime, it's almost unwatchable, because what rules are they following? Some of these cards, like I've played with before, and I'm like, what the hell? And Capsule Monsters was even more of a what the hell moment, because I had no idea what it was. I was like, what in the actual fresh hell is this? And why in the hell does it exist? So, and then last one I wanted to mention was Black Butler 2. If you've ever watched Black Butler, I didn't enjoy Black Butler 1, but I watched it because everybody was telling me to. So I was like, I didn't like it. And then I watched Black Butler 2, and I liked that even less. Basically, the entirety of that second season is a filler. It has nothing to hold it in place in real life. So, because I don't think there was any content to really derive another season off of, but they just spit one out anyways, didn't they? But there are some other ones out there. So if you like anime and you hate fillers, put in the comments below what fillers you could enjoy and what fillers you absolutely could not enjoy. I mentioned the big one I mentioned was Bound Arc and Bleach, but I threw a couple others out there that are almost universally hated, I feel like. But if you guys have anything that you really enjoy in regards to different arcs or different stories or what you didn't enjoy, put it in the comments down below. If you hate anime, tell me why you hate anime in the comments. But for right now, we're going to hop out of here. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. But stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on growing.